Welcome to the Resource Nexus podcast. As always, you can check out the full article along with stats and opinions at theresourcenexus.com. There's been a wave of Ja Morant trade proposals floating around the internet lately, and frankly, they're all bad, really bad, for the other teams involved, and that's before you even factor in the $40 million a year price tag or the constant off-court drama that follows him everywhere. I'm not even talking about the baggage right now. I'm talking about pure basketball from a talent perspective and how hard it would actually be to build around Morant at this point. So the reality is simple. Morant isn't the player people still want to believe he is. His entire game was built on jaw-dropping athleticism, and that's fading fast as he hits his physical decline at age 26. He's an undersized 6'2", 174-pound guard who never developed a reliable jumper. For his career, he's shooting just 31.2% from three. And if you isolate the last 4 seasons, it's even worse. Once that bounce goes, what's left? Yet somehow analysts keep floating these blockbuster trade ideas involving guys like Trae Young, Tyler Herro, or Jalen Green, all of which would be colossal mistakes for those franchises. Let's break down why these hypothetical trades make 0 sense for anyone outside of Memphis. Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young for Ja Morant. If you told me Atlanta traded Trae Young straight up for Morant, I'd assume the franchise had been hacked. Trae's already a better shooter, a better playmaker, and honestly, more durable at this stage. Even if you want to reset your culture or move off his contract, you don't take on a declining, volatile guard who's worse in nearly every measurable category. Atlanta gains nothing, not cap space, not upside, not leadership, just a more expensive, less efficient version of what they already have. Phoenix Suns, Jalen Green, and a first-round pick for Morant. This one is absurd. Phoenix shouldn't be giving up any draft capital, let alone a player like Jalen Green who's 3 years younger and has way more upside at this point. If the Suns are desperate, fine. Morant's a buy low flyer at best, but in this version, they're overpaying massively for a player whose prime might already be in the rearview mirror. Now, Green might be inconsistent. I don't think he's great either, but the ceiling and the possibility are still there, and he's much cheaper, $25 million a year compared to $40. Maybe you could talk me into it if it was straight up with no picks attached or even a pick coming back to Phoenix. But to add a first-rounder like I've seen people suggest online, that's ridiculous given the salary, the age, the decline, and the baggage. Miami Heat, Tyler Herro for Ja Morant. Herro isn't perfect, but he's dependable and actually fits Miami's system, which, by the way, looks good to start the year. Morant in that culture, disaster. Unless he completely reinvented himself, which, let's be real, isn't happening. I have no clue why anyone would trade Herro for Morant. If you're the Heat, why give up one of your few efficient perimeter scorers for someone who can't shoot, doesn't defend, and brings off-court headaches? That's a lose-lose. Sacramento Kings, depth and picks for Morant. This one's at least interesting in theory. The Kings might be desperate enough to talk themselves into it, but it still doesn't actually make them better. They'd be paying for name value, not production. If I'm Sacramento, I'd rather just keep Malik Monk. He costs less than half of what Morant makes and is already one of the key pieces this offense is built around. He fits the locker room, the culture, and the spacing far better than Morant ever would, and you get to keep your first-round pick in the process. Trading real assets for Morant would be the kind of short-sighted move that looks flashy on paper but sets the franchise back in reality. Minnesota Timberwolves, the only semi-logical fit. Minnesota at least makes some sense on paper. Mike Conley's aging, and they could use more dynamism at the point. But even then, you're taking a massive gamble that Morant can stay healthy, mature, and rediscover a game that's clearly plateaued. If Memphis does trade him, it should be a pure salary dump or a flyer. Something like this. Minnesota gets Ja Morant, Memphis gets role players, expiring deals, or minimal draft capital. That's it. No stars, no blue chip prospects, just a low-risk, high-variance bet for a team that needs a spark, the harsh truth. Morant's trade value today isn't based on talent. It's based on nostalgia. The 2022 version of Ja Morant isn't walking through that door again. Players like this who don't add a jump shot or reinvent themselves only decline. What's left now is a smaller guard with fading athleticism, subpar shooting, injury history, and one of the most expensive contracts in the league. You can point to guys like Russell Westbrook or Derrick Rose who extended their careers, but even they had something else to fall back on. Westbrook is bigger, rebounds, and plays like a maniac. Rose developed more of a three-pointer later in his career and was also a little bigger. Morant isn't the kind of player you give up assets for. He's the kind you take a chance on after the price drops to zero. Until that happens, any team trading real talent or picks for Morant is setting themselves up for disappointment and probably a long-term financial mistake. The Grizzlies should honestly be thrilled if anyone's willing to take on the $40 million a year and the PR baggage. For everyone else, the only smart move is to wait until Memphis is the one paying to get rid of him, not the other way around. If Morant does get moved, expect it to be a salary-shedding trade. Expiring contracts, end-of-rotation players, maybe a second-round flyer or two. Anything more than that would be a massive overpay for a fading asset whose best days are already behind him and comes with a box of problems. Alright, that's a wrap for today. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you got some good insights. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with anyone who'd find it useful. And don't forget to check out the resourcenexus.com for more in-depth analysis. Until next time, check you later.
Cool. Guess we'll see you around.
All right, check you later.
Bye.
Wait, man, why are you always such a dork, man?
What are you talking
Check you
about?
later. Check you later.